I am really, really looking forward to today. I'm so glad that you're here. We were just chatting before we went to record, and this is going to be so timely. So, welcome to the show, Jennifer Soenen. I'm really, really excited for my neighbor up north to come and really wow our audience today on what we need to do to get better control over our time. So, welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, Heather. I'm super excited, especially the synergy with time management and your badass club and group that you have. I know it's going to only excel them even more to their
Perfect.
2.0.
Perfect. Well, we're going to dive in today to a couple different things. We're going to talk about time management, achieving goals, why some people struggle with that. And you're going to give us the juicy details on what you're doing. And I love your tagline of helping people to go beyond the clock. That's a really cool thought. Like I saw that on your email and just like had to ruminate on that for a little bit. Like I need help going beyond the clock. I'm a girl who will, start burning the candle really, really early in the morning and I'm still going late at night. And I personally coach all my clients to knock that stuff off. And then here I am doing it. So help me help our audience. Let's start with how did you get so passionate about this and become the expert? And like where did that stem from? What did that come from?
Well, I always had a burning desire for coaching and advising. And as I progressed through life, it just naturally unfolded. And being a teacher by trade and working in different classrooms with different people and then starting coaching, it really just kind of stemmed out of it because, especially, I really like to deal with stuff that is a level playing field. And what is time is the most level playing field because we have 24 hours in the day, 168 hours in a week. Like that's what we have. And once you're aware of that, and then you can start to manipulate and say, okay, what do I want to do? And that's where the going beyond the clock is, like where you really get focused and intentional, then it becomes easy. And I can honestly say that I feel like I have more freedom and doing all the things that I do now than I did when I was 35. And I have the multiple roles, just like all of us do. We
Mm-hmm.
fill up our time, right? People who say, well, you're not as busy, like that judgment is no, we all have 24 hours. We just decide how we're going to spend it and what really is going to produce value in our lives.
Yeah,
So
that's good. That's really good.
mhm.
I'm a teacher at heart too. What grade did you teach?
All of them.
You did?
Yes, I started in elementary, and then I like to say I graduated up to high school, and many years spent in high school, special education, a lot of senior business leadership, and economics, and
Mm.
so. Mhm.
Well, bless your heart for doing the special ed. How like awesome is that? And I can see, I only taught elementary. I taught the little guys because the big guys scared me at the time. But I can see how that much experience really shaped where you are too with this,
Yeah,
because there's nothing that's more like to the clock than teaching, right? You're on a bell
exactly.
schedule and you got enough to get done in that time. So let's talk too about time management with achieving goals. Like we were talking a little bit before what a perfect time this is because a lot of people are coming from making New Year's resolutions or trying to, get that betterment going. And then right around the corner, I think it's like 50-ish days away from spring.
Uh,
We're close. We're close. That's all I know
Yes,
at the
we're
time of this
super
recording.
close. Yes.
So like people will get that desire to start, getting organized. And a lot of that is going to be with time management. But let's go back to time management and achieving goals and talk about like how can we start using strategies? Where do we start with that?
I think really, with my clients, I definitely start with understanding what goal they're going after. And
Mm,
that begins even with your values. And I'm a very value-based person. in that sense. So being able to really clearly define your values will help you kind of narrow down what goal you're going to go after. And I'm a one to two max kind of goal coach in that. And the reason being, it's not that you're going to work on other goals. It's if you pick out your one to two goals, it's going to ripple down to everything else. And so that's really, if we can focus in, because we don't, once you take away like our mandatory, you're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. And as you like, I've listened to your podcast so much, and I love that one on sleep is, especially midlife, we need to make sure we're valuing that. So
Mhm.
really being able to say, okay, I have 168 hours in a week. How much of that is actually mandatory? And it honestly, once you work it out, it works out to about like 80%. So
Ooh,
that's why if you can focus on one to two goals at max, that it's going to really help you build momentum. And then with identifying the values, yeah, you have a whole slew. And I take clients through the process. Okay, what one is gonna satisfy the most values that you have, um, and that you can do right now, right? You can start taking those small action steps. So I really think that's where, and I mean, I see it at the gym right now, right? It's near the end of January, beginning of January, the gyms were packed. And now, I kind of changed around my schedule for working out, but now it's kind of lightened up and I can go back to my regular routine. So,
already. Whoa.
right, because people are choosing the wrong, like the wrong goal. They're choosing their wrong goal and they think, well, this is what I should do. No, you should figure out what's good for you and do that, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm making notes because
Yeah.
this is gold. Let's go to those people at the gym, especially the people that are leaving. I hear from women more so than men that they don't have time to prioritize themselves. You know this. I'm sure you hear
Mm-hmm.
it all the time too. Like, let's talk about how we can help that um, problem, because it is a problem, right? Like, we don't need to be taking baths every day and getting massages, but we do need to take small pieces of time to focus on, you know, helping us to be our healthiest selves. Um, I think for women, like when I hear that, we can go really quickly into the shameville of
Mm-hmm.
like, you have as many hours as I do, get it done kind of thing. That does nobody any good, right?
Right.
But how can we like help women to start recognizing the time that they need to take for themselves is important, and it is there. Is it going back to the values? Is it prioritizing just that one or two? Like, how do we help when that statement comes up of I don't have time to take care of myself? What would you
Right.
say?
And a couple of things, because some of that is mindset and belief. Like it doesn't matter, it's about recognizing. So a couple of things, if the client is very like practical based, then I would do a time audit and we
Mm,
would assess, okay, what are you spending your treasured time on, your investment time, mandatory time, and then is there empty time? One thing that I do find, like with clients that you're saying that are, I can't find any time, just doing that opens up. And that time audit allows to have conversations like where I can recognize, oh, here's a transition time, where maybe you can save 5 minutes if we kind of group and time block things together during your week. You can create maybe an hour of throughout the week, 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. And
mm,
I think a lot of times they think like that client that you were just describing, the women that, oh, well, I should be doing some other things, doing the shoulds, right? And I was there too in my like definitely 30s and 40s. Like I just felt like, no, I'll get to the workout after. I do the cleaning, after I do, and for teaching, right? After I
Yeah.
revise this lesson, after I mark this, and then I'd be tired. So
All your
being
reserves
able,
are gone. You've got nothing left.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So doing the time audit brings a lot of awareness and it's then quantifiable. Okay, this is what you're doing, right? And it's not bad, but if you want to find time, let's strategize here. What can we do? And then, approaching the mindset of creating that shift of, and I can share my experience because I was there. I was like that one that you were describing, overworked all the time and trying to get a job, trying to get pregnant, when I was married, and it was like all these stressors, and I didn't take time for myself because I was so much people pleasing that
Mm,
that's what I did. So being able to work with that now, and I realize one day, you know what, if I'm not taking care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually, I'm not, I'm not representing and showing my son. And that's really kind of where it came. Like when I was like, oh, I'm a role model. I have to show him. He's not gonna, the words are gonna be words, but if I show him and he sees me working out, he sees that I'm a better person and I know I'm a better person, then it's that slight shift. And
mm.
I think that that really helps in getting people to experiment with it. And they think, I know I would go on for a month and I'd be fine and then I'd fall off the wagon kind of thing. And it came down to giving myself some grace and compassion. Like, let's try what works for me. Where am I going to get the biggest bang? Is it working out or is it, just not just, but going for a walk? Or is it taking a bath, right? And then you just kind of self-reflect in that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that piece of you. I think that we can relate to that so much, right? I've worked with people in the past too who have um I don't want to call it big jobs, but jobs where they are really feeling the stress. You know, there's a lot of responsibility put on them. And
Mhm.
and they're also new moms and they've got little ones who are keeping them up at night and like that for me my best advice that I could give them for where to find time during the day to move their bodies because like this one particular person I'm thinking of had a pretty sedentary job and wasn't getting a lot of sleep and just taxed on all ends, right? So it was just like the movement breaks throughout the day, the few
Mhm.
minutes here and there to add it up. And I bet if we went back and I was, still working with this gal, if we went back and did a time audit, we would probably find that really there was time. But I love what you talked about with your different times of your transition times and your treasured times. Is that part of your um, methodology? Is it part of your coaching? And can you share more about what that is? Because that I love those. I
Yes.
love those titles. What does that mean?
Yeah, and it actually is a certain way to do a time audit, and it's where you track your time for a
Hmm.
week, or in my circumstances, when I would share custody with my son. So I actually did it, my lifestyle's a bit different, but I did it in 2 week blocks. So I audited my time because you know what, when I have my son, it is a different schedule than when I don't.
Sure.
So I went through recorded and then I went back and said, okay, what is treasured time? Meaning, time with my son, my self time, and, really looked and kind of color coded that. And then I went through, okay, which one is investment time? What is going to give me, you know, in business, what's my return on investment? What's going to help me my bottom line? And then I coded that a different color. And then the
Okay.
mundane tasks of, doing our laundry, washing the floors, or, getting groceries. And then you highlight that. And then anything else that's left is really empty time, meaning that, oh, maybe I didn't strategize in, how I kind of went about my day and I went to the north side of the town and then the south and then back to the north kind of thing. So that's like, or scrolling, right? Scrolling on your
Ah,
phone and
mhm.
it adds up. So what after that, then we'll take the mundane and empty and try and convert them either into treasured or investment time. And I've done this with groups of fabulous entrepreneurial women, and they're like, oh, most of my time is treasured in investment. And I'm like, confidence builder right there. Like, then I know it's a mindset. Then it's a mindset thing that they just believe that they're not good time managers, or maybe they're chasing the wrong goal. So that's really where that treasured and investment, mundane and empty time really helps to kind of get some quantifiable numbers, right, on the page.
How smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've
So
got all sorts of things brewing right now. That's really, really something that I want to like go sit and think about for a moment. And I've done
yeah.
time audits before, but I've never looked at it like that. And I've never really broken it down. I've just been like, crap, I'm busy. I
Exactly.
don't have time for this audit.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, when I'm working, because most of my clients are motivated females. So it's not like they're, dragging their heels, they're not doing anything. It's the opposite. They're doing way too much and they think that they can cram it in. And it's sometimes impossible. So that's why where the values come in then, and picking what goal do we want to focus on right now? Because
Yeah.
as any kind of change is going to take a little bit of time to build up the momentum. And once you have that one going, then yeah, bring in another one. But otherwise it's going to be too much and we're just going to bust it all and feel not good about ourselves. And who wants that?
Right. Right. Oh, I can totally see that. I I'm thinking too, Jennifer, that um my husband kind of teases me a little bit because he thinks that maybe I don't know how many hours are in a day. We'll be talking about, what do you got going on today? What's up? What's on tap? And I'm like naming the things. And then he looks at me kind of funny, like, what are you thinking? You can't do all that today. And I'm like, watch me. And so, like, for me, I think I am maybe one of those women that you work with that are a little more type A, like,
Mhm.
but for me, it's almost like I have this, here we go, I'm going to confess stuff. I feel like I have this deep-seated fear that there's just not enough time or time is running out. And there's
Mm.
so much I want to get done. So you giving us these tips is really valuable to me because I need to go and look at what do I really value. And if, like that's some other work I need to do that I feel like time is running out or I don't have enough time. That's
Mhm.
that's some big work I need to do. But if I just stop and focus on what's really valuable to me and have one or two things, I would imagine that I'm going to feel so much better at the end of the day, about the things that I did accomplish because I can get to the end of the day and I can have my list checked off, like 80%, the ridiculously long list, and then feel like, oh, but I didn't get that 20% done. And so
Mhm.
then I don't feel successful or I don't feel like I've
Right.
done enough, which is just ridiculous if you look at all the things that you do in a day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. And thanks for your share. And you know what? I say set put less on the to-do list, believe it or not, right? And it's kind of, it is a mindset thing, right? Of that we're running out of time. Well, really, we only have this moment. It's
Oh,
beautiful because it's called the present. We only have this moment. And because I was that rushing, and I still am sometimes 100%. And I say to myself at the beginning of the week when I'm setting my week out, what at the end of the week, when I come back to reflect, what do I really want to feel like? And what are two or three things that I know that are going to move the needle for my goal? Right.
yeah.
And all the little things, and I get at being type A that you want to get all these little things done, but sometimes it'll just naturally occur and, almost like changing a little bit of a habit of checking off the to-do list and creating that power list of, okay, so today I got quite a bit done, and now tomorrow I'm going to move closer to that one action, one power list action.
I love it. Oh,
Mhm.
that's so good. So good. Do you want to share with us a little bit more about what your coaching practice looks like, or some of the things that you do within your coaching? Can we pick your brains a little bit more?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, with my coaching program, the Empower Her program, productivity, it's, and this is where like it's beyond time management. Yes, we look at, scheduling and time blocking, but then it's also the quality of actions that you're going to take. And that's you know, where you're not creating a massive to-do list. It's like, what is going to move me closer? So it begins with the time audit, really trying to take an awareness of where you are now and then create those values. And I have a great free training on the power of no and the benefits of saying no, because if we say no to the right things, then we can say yes to so many other things. Because there's only so much
Oh,
time, and so if we're filling up all our time, there's no room for creativity, for spontaneity, for oh, I just met somebody in the grocery store. Wow, okay, and leave a little impact with them, or maybe they impacted you. But if we're constantly filling up
mhm.
our schedule and not leaving and being productive and leaving space, then we're really going to lose out on the present moment. And really, that's why I've called it the Empower Her Productivity program, is
Love it.
because I want people to feel empowered in the moment, and that, okay, I'm on track. Yes, I have this goal, but I'm enjoying the journey, and each day, each moment is, providing more information. So we really start with an awareness of where you are, and then decide, okay, where do you're going to decide with the tools and the strategies, where do you want to go? And, really focus in on the right goal, and then know why you want that goal, and remind yourself, why you want it, right? Because
Mm.
we know achieving goals, well, you think you're going to be better off than you are now, right? That's why we set goals, because we think that's it, right? So we start with that time audit, decide, and then, throughout this process, I'm working and giving suggestions for changing the mindset, changing your language, how you speak to yourself. I worked with a client, and again, she's a very high-powered entrepreneur. She has multiple things, and she said to me, "Yeah, we'll work together, but I'm not great at time management." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, can you do one thing?" And I said, "Can you mark down every time you say that in a day?" I texted her, I'm like, "How many?" She goes, "I stopped counting." Like, I said, "Stop saying that." Like,
Mhm.
your everyone's time management, or time, yeah, management, productivity is going to look a little bit different, right? And especially as entrepreneurs, women, if you're moms, if you're, aunts, you have all these obligations. And so it's not going to look like the traditional, I'm checking in at 9, checking out at 5. No, well, you might have this or that. And your creativity time, this woman in particular, was 10 to 12 at night, because that's
Oh, wow.
when she realized. I said, "That's your time. Like, don't beat yourself up because mine is in the morning." Like, I love waking up early and having that space. And I know you do too, right? Like,
Mhm.
that's our time, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that really makes a difference. So it's a very like personal journey that we go on, and really figuring out, okay, what is going to work for for you at this time,
Yeah.
right? And be aware of, what that looks like. And I'm a big person in identifying control the controllables. So put in business, we call them feed forward controls. So what kind of guardrails do you need to put in place so that you can set yourself up for success? So I took a year-long mastery and coaching program. At the beginning of it, I sat down with the people who were important to me. And this included my son. I said, listen, like, I'm dedicated to this. It's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evenings for the entire year, right?
Ooh,
Some
that's a
breaks,
lot.
but yeah, yeah, it was great time. But I knew, and I already had done my work on my values, on, why I wanted the goal. I sat down with them and I said, listen, I know this is going to impact us. It's going to impact our relationship, because typically at that time, I would still hang out with my son when I had him at night. And I knew this
Hmm.
was going to, we're going to have to change things up. But from that conversation, they saw how much I wanted it. And I said, like, do I have your support? If we'll do check-ins, every month and see how things are. If we need to reevaluate, then we do that. But it was the best, honestly, year in, really being dedicated to that I learned, oh, what I've been, you know, teaching and doing, and having that feed forward control really set me up for success, because they didn't, say, hey, off the cuff, can you make me supper? Can you do this? Like, they're like, oh yeah, mom has this. Or, my partner was like, nope, I know you're busy. This is what I'm going to do. So, that is really, I think, a critical step. Some people who make, New Year's resolutions, or at the beginning, they don't stop and think, okay, well, what's going to keep me on the road, right?
Hmm.
And so that's one way, is, discuss it, share your goal, get a, and I mean, as coaches, we're accountability, having an
Hmm.
accountability person is really key for feed forward. And then also, as you're through the goal, I set up the way that I strategize, build in little check-ins, okay, every 4 to 6 weeks. What's working, what isn't? I have a whole toolbox of tools for time management, time productivity. Not all of them are going to work for every client, nor should it, because it'd be too many, right?
Okay.
And so being able to say, okay, what's working? I love time blocking. And, I use a time cube as well. And, just being able to set up those concurrent, while you're in the middle of it, check-ins, strategies to have. And I like to gamify and play with it. Relax a little bit on yourself, in the sense of, when you're in the middle of it and you're trying to do something new,
Hmm.
and it's a new goal or a new challenge, to give yourself some grace in that. So being able to identify, what are you going to do in the middle to help you stay on track. And we've all accomplished, unless we're working with a very young person, some goal in our life. And I also reflect back and say, okay, well, what worked when you achieved that goal? And bring that forward. And that helps develop the plan, their roadmap of how are they going to achieve goals. And really, once you do this once, especially with those control measures,
Hmm.
you can take it and apply it to your next goal. And it's kind of like a rinse and repeat, right? You kind of hone in. And
Hmm.
that's every time that I have a goal and I accomplish it, I'm like, okay, what worked? And let's apply it for the next one. So then it becomes a very well-oiled machine. Because now, when I took the coaching program, from now, like, on, I share with everyone at the beginning of the week, hey, this is what I'm doing, just to, and we all share, so that we have kind of unison. Because really, I think everyone's time is valuable. And so if we can understand where we can have togetherness, it makes it that much more enjoyable as well. So just really being able to experience that. So that's how I work with my clients. And, you know, in that one-to-one container, I do workshops where I definitely go over, the time audit, and then give some practical strategies that they can start trying right away and see what that looks like.
That was a lot of good stuff.
I'm like, I gotta breathe.
Yes, take a breath. You and I are so much
Yeah.
aligned in the way that we work with people and what's important. And it is truly mindset. And even going back to your gal who said that she wasn't good with time management, maybe a few too many times. I think when we catch ourselves, or someone points it out, sometimes it can be eye-opening that we, have such negative self-talk or the loop in our head of the things that we keep,
Mhm.
stories we keep telling ourselves. All of this with help is really actionable. We can really take action on
Yeah.
things to change things and to redirect. We're not hopeless cases.
No, not
I
at all. Yeah.
I can stop putting so much on my everyday list, but I think it's really like a positive, hopeful way that you're working with people. And time, as you know, is like so precious, right?
Mhm.
And utilizing it well to align with our values and to help us to meet our goals. And it's just, this is such really good information that you're sharing. I so appreciate it. I already have 2 pages of notes.
Thank you. And, just even with the as you were saying about, the positive, and I'm also it's a really good book. It's called Getting to Neutral, and I'm trying to remember the author. I really like this philosophy, and I've used it, um, in the classroom and with clients, in the sense of, you know what? When we're driving, I love driving. So a lot of my analogies are about driving.
Okay.
When we're driving and we're going in reverse and we want to go to drive, we have to go to neutral first and
Mhm.
then drive forward. So even a lot of times I was just with that client, I was trying to make her aware, and I said, don't even replace it with anything. Just stop. Just stop saying it, right? Stop saying it in your head. Stop. And I said, that's going to bring you to neutral. And then
Ah,
that neutrality will open up for a different choice of a different feeling. But sometimes when we try and just replace it right away, it it gets to be too much. That's what I find for mindset. Habits, I find, yeah, you need to replace that time, but
mhm.
that that definitely mindset, I'm like, sometimes just just, let's focus. Yeah. Bring
You
that,
know,
bring the
where in my
neutral.
business I hear that all the time is clients saying, I was bad. I ate this. I was
Mm,
bad. Like that's the one that you know,
mm,
I want to put an end to that one real quick. I'm going to
yes.
use this analogy and I'm going to look for that book. That sounds really good. I like that
Yeah.
analogy. Are you familiar with chronotypes? Have you listened to or gone down that at all?
No.
So there's a couple different scientists that I've listened to in the past, and one of them is Matthew Walker. Talks a lot about chronotypes, especially in regard to sleep. So we were talking about this a little bit back in the conversation, but your gal who was productive from 10 to 12,
Mhm,
for a long time, for many years, I would try to get women to um, exercise early before they lost their energy for the day, before work and kids
mhm,
and dinner and all that. And then I did more research on this chronotypes, and it's fascinating when you find out what your optimal times are
oh,
of when you're most productive. Um, you can really facilitate your time differently. And so I stopped completely telling people optimal times because those were my optimal times, or
Mm,
based on, what we all just would think would be the case.
yeah.
Like, yeah, you're trying to work out after 6 p.m. Good luck with that. I do have and work with women who are optimally functioning to work out later in the day. They're night owls.
Wow.
And so to tell someone, no, you should wake up at 5 and go do this might be a big detriment to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that information, the chronotypes. Um, I know that there's a difference in what I found. There's one that talks about which animal you are. I'm not really familiar with that one, but if you Google it, you'll see that one about which animal you are. Not really familiar, so I can't really speak to that. But there is the other side where there is a quiz where you can take. It doesn't talk about animals, but it will tell you, like it asks you in several different ways about being creative or stress or fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And like me personally, I think I've used an alarm clock twice in the last 5 years. I just wake up at a certain time. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
up, ready to go. Maybe not, with a lot of pep in my step, but I'm on.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm very much off at a certain time. And I think that like that's my time. And I'm really a stickler on trying to keep consistent times. And I
Mm.
don't know how much, that comes into your work, but we have so much data around however you want to say it, circadian rhythms and how it affects
Yes.
your health and your mind. And I just think going to bed at a similar time every night when you're tired,
Mm-hmm.
getting up at the same time, we could be so much more equipped to be productive and healthy in our day.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, that's where the really devising something that's working for someone specifically. And, I mentioned my personal experience on 2 weeks and, breaking around what society says.
Mm,
And I 100% agree with you. And the science backs it too, right? Consistency, so that your body can just naturally perform at its best. And
yeah.
that's really what we're definitely working towards. And yeah, a lot of the time information and why I love it is because it's science too. Like
Hmm.
people research this and, there are suggestions, and I'm definitely going to be looking at the chronotypes. And, I do other personality assessments, Enneagram, and, the Myers-Briggs, and different, what's
I
your,
love that
your
stuff.
color and everything. And what I love about it is that when you come with science, it almost takes some of the guilt away. At least it did for me. When I share science with people, I'm like, listen, it's not your fault. Like, this
Mm,
is information. So now that you have your chronotype and this information, now we can move forward. Now, if you decide not to take action, that is your responsibility. But, like, I didn't realize, like, when I started out years ago, that introverts doesn't mean that I'm shy. It just means that I like to get my energy restored by myself. Where my partner, oh my gosh, he could be out every single night because that he's an extrovert and he gets his energy that way. Right. So understanding that in our relationships, I'd feel at the beginning when we started dating that I had to be going out all the time. And I was like, oh, I'm like drained. And then I was just like, listen, you go out, I want to stay in, not all the time, but it's that balance and,
mhm,
consistent behavior. I knew what was good for me. Right. So,
mhm, mhm.
and I like
Yeah.
how you said that because you protect that too, right? That consistency.
Oh, yeah. Fiercely. Which is kind of hard when you've got 3 kids and, kind of hard.
Yes. It's an
But
experiment. Yes. Experimenting. Let's see if this works this week.
I work really hard on it. Yeah. Um, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share that you think is important for the badass listeners?
Oh, wow. I mean, as you can tell, I could talk for days on this topic. And just really approach it almost just what I had just said was with a curious, kind of wondering kind of mind, like, hey, what's working, going forward? And if lots of our clients, right, they know that they want to achieve something more, but really spending the time beforehand, getting to know what that is,
Mhm.
and take action, because in the action is where you're going to really experiment and really know if the experiment worked, instead of looking at that. And you know what, it's a I hate to be cliche, but it's a journey, right? And knowing that each day more information is going to come in. And I learned now about the chronotypes, and I'm like excited to go find out, and also kind of move forward from there. And
Mhm.
just, it's something that time is something that can be controlled, and not in the sense of that you want to strangle it. It's more of, look at all the opportunity you have. And um yeah, that it can give you instant relief right now, and doesn't mean packing it all in. So I think we did hit like some big ones, and in that. So unless, yeah, you have something that you wanted
Well,
to.
just that is a beautiful thing to say, is that time can be controlled, not that we want to strangle it. I
Yeah.
really like that.
Don't
I really
strangle
like
it.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to make sure that people know that they can go find this um what did you call it? Oh
The
gosh.
empower
Yes.
her productivity program.
Well,
Yeah.
that, and then the next piece that you said that you've got your little free
Oh, the power of no. Yes,
power of no. There it is.
yes,
Okay.
turbocharge your no.
Yes. How are we finding this? How are we finding where we can work with you? Tell us all the spaces.
All right. I am on Instagram under Jennifer Soenen. And my company is called Soenen Strategies. And so you can go there as well and get turbocharge your no as soon as you sign up. And also on LinkedIn and Facebook under Jennifer Soenen.
Turbocharge your no. That is so good.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And
good.
it's a great, quick, under 15 minutes. And I actually go through the benefits of saying no, and what happens when we say yes too much. And I help you identify your values if you haven't done that. And it's a kind of a flippy way, in the sense of, it's not what are your values, it's what don't you want? And then let's flip it,
Mm.
because it's so much easier to identify, like us to walk by and say, I don't want that. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
some
Good. I can't wait
her,
to go take that myself. This has been so helpful, and I'm really excited to share this information. I think that we all want to be better with our time, right? So
mhm.
we can create impact and live the lives we are supposed to live. Um, I have one last question for you, Jennifer. What makes you feel like a badass?
Oh, what, just being able to help others, and, lead by example. I just love that. And, you know, really filling up my days with meeting people like you,
Mm.
and, sharing in that. It's looking forward, and that's it, and enjoying the present moment, really.